All right, hello people. Been a while. So, pick a little hiatus from making some videos because this ain't a full-time gig. This is just what I do on the side. It was just for grins to begin with. So, I figure I can talk about whatever I want to talk about on here because when if you're that obsessed with cars, you're only going to talk about it with people who are just as obsessed about it as you are. So I came up with a list of topics, and it took me a while to try to get some things together, because I don't want to just talk about my car. There's plenty of people that got the same car I got. There's plenty of people got any number of vehicles you have sitting around in your yard. Somebody's probably got the same car you got. Okay. As far as this back here, there ain't too many people doing this, not that I know of. If there is, big shout out to you. You're in good company if you're that obsessive about it. That's probably, I don't know, a couple $1,000 maybe, depending on what they're worth, some of them. But anyway, that's another discussion. Is Hot Wheels and that kind of thing. That's really not my focus. Today's topic, I'm going to hit on, and I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I wrote down 10 things. So today we're going to talk about the 2024 Mustang, and apparently it didn't do real well. And I'm going to give you my opinion on it, why it didn't do well. Now, granted, it's just my opinion. I know what I like and what I don't like. I can tell you what I don't like about what I don't like, and the reason why I would never buy it. Okay, so now we're going to get into that. All right, so there's another cat that does videos, and I was watching his video on YouTube about the Mustang didn't sell real well, and that from previous Mustangs models from the 15 to the 18 and 19 and the 20s, the 23s, before they changed it to the S650 platform, they had sold quite a few cars. Your Fox bodies sold plenty. The SM195 cars, when they were first released, it took them a while. People were quite warming up to them. They were like, And then they grew on you, and then you're like, yeah, My favorite actually was the SN95, 1995 Cobra R and the 1998 Cobra, which I had the 98 Cobra. And those year models were, top sellers. I mean, they sold over 1 million of those cars. Okay, fast forward all the way to 2025. Okay, supposedly they only sold the whole year 400,000 or less than 400,000, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less Mustangs. Now, I see them around, but not like everybody thought. Now, granted, the price of the car went up, of course, because every time they come out with one, the price goes up. They changed some things. Some things they changed people like. And, as a community, I'm not in the community. I like what I like, and I do like Mustangs. I like a lot of other stuff, but I just happen to have a couple Mustangs, and I've had some Mustangs. But as far as the newer cars go, I have not owned the S197 platform, nor the 650 or the 550. Granted, they're interesting platforms, but I think that I have drawn the line where I think I'm just going to go backwards when it comes to Mustangs. I don't, everybody's always about technology and power. And power wise, if you got the money, you can build any kind of engine you want and put it in anything. If you got enough money, you can buy a crate motor. They Ford now released a 1,000 horsepower Megazilla. You can buy that motor, you can put it in any Mustang you want. You can put it in a 65, you can put it in a 67, you can put it in an Eleanor, Tribute, you can do whatever you want. Me, I think I'm just gonna stick with the old stuff because I feel that's what I like the best. I like an all steel car with steel bumpers. Just I the whole aerodynamic thing, I get it. You know, a faster pony, I get it. But I pick this garbage up all the time, and they're making it flimsier and flimsier. Okay, you just bump the bumper, and the clips are coming off. And see, that's my problem with new cars, and we'll get into that another time. But they put the bumpers on with clips, plastic clips. So your rear bumper is got rivets or screws in it, and then the corners have clips on them. Same thing with the front. Same thing with when any of the other new cars, your Toyotas and all of them. I noticed a Toyota Camry the other day. A girl was driving and the bumper was flapping. The clips that came loose, where she had knocked it loose, and it was flapping like this. And I was like, yeah, I'm not into that. I'd rather fix a dented fender than a flapping plastic bumper. I've had my fill of just looking at that. And I'm like, the cars look nice, and you know, the technology they've come out with, but the manufacturing process ain't up to my standards. This putting bumpers on with front with clips and you know what, this stuff is just, it's like makeshift. I mean, they're all doing that. Dodge does the same thing. That whole front end on that Challenger, you hit it wrong, the whole front end comes off the car. Trust me, I picked them up. The whole front end just fall right off on the ground, headlights and all. I'm like, man, that's, yeah, you know. So the design of this new car, it ain't blowing people's skirt up. I can tell you the worst part about it. The first time they released the design, the first thing that people said was, it looks like a Camaro. I don't really think it looks like a Camaro, but I don't necessarily think it looks like a Mustang either. I don't really like the back end of it. Just now, granted, when the 10 and 11 models came out, I thought that was an interesting looking, and it grew on me, and I got to where I liked it. This one, I don't, that whole, this thing, and then the light tail lights is, no, I don't care for it. I think it's awful looking. And then the dash. They're getting out of hand with this, want to put a screen in everything. I don't really like Teslas. If you like electric cars, good for you. I don't care nothing about no electric car. I don't want one. I've told them I don't care nothing about them. I don't see anything about that car that just, I'm just going to get ooey gooey about. There's just nothing about it that's great. That just isn't. And so you get in the new Mustang and you got a screen here. And you got a screen over there. And this is where your gauges are. I'm like, no, man, no. See, this is where you went wrong. And people are some people are just so ooey gooey about the technology. They're all about new technology. Put a computer screen in it until it don't work. And when it stops working, or when it malfunctions, then they're going to complain about it. Well, you know what? Let's complain about it now. Let's complain about the problems with this car now, because you ain't selling too many of them, and you ain't going to. You're not. And now that They didn't sell that many of the car, and now every other car or other tuner, Saline, Roush, uh, Shelby American just released their GT350 because apparently Ford isn't releasing a GT350 and they're not making another flat plane crank motor. So the new GT350 is basically a 5-liter with a Whipple on it. The same thing you can get from Roush, the same thing you can get from Ford, same exact thing, 810 horsepower. If you're into that, if you're going to pay a premium because it says Shelby on it, and you can buy a Mustang GT and do exactly the same thing. I don't know, you get a donor car, it's the same thing, man. Or you can just buy the car from them. And that car's probably triple whatever it is because it's a Shelby. And they got a lot of backlash and people were hating on them online. I mean, they threw all kind of insults at them and said, you know what, this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. And people are doing damage control and saying, hey, this is what they gave us at Ford. And then my man on the other page said that the computer's locked. It's locked out. So you whatever you got, that's what you got. And you can put the Whipple on it, and they'll do the whole deal, but you ain't getting any more than that out of it. The tunings, there's no tuning. And so you got a lot of complaints. And I'm like, well, what did you expect they were going to do? I mean, this market, this is where I see the problem at. Okay, in 03 and 04, when the Terminator came out, and see, they've been picking hot rodders' brains for a long time. And so they'd be like one of them coming and asking me, or 5 or 6 of them saying, hey, if you were going to buy a car from an automaker and it was a performance car, what would you do to it once you got it? Let's say it didn't have enough performance. What would you do to it to make it powerful? Make it, if you were that person you wanted to straight line it, or what would you do to it if you wanted to autocross it? What would you do to it if you were going to turn it into a race car? You want to go road racing. What kind of things would you do to it? So they went and picked people's brain, and then they actually went and hired a few people to work on the team, the Mustang team, to facilitate these ideas. And so you could get a 390 horse supercharged 281 cubic inch Mustang Cobra, and it kicked butt. And of course, after a factory car that was supercharged, and it made power. We're not talking about Pontiac's GTP versions of cars, because they don't count, because none of them were exciting like they were supposed to be. Yeah, if Pontiac really wanted to bring the excitement, they would have brought some new blood in to get the excitement going, and they would have went and talked to some real hot rodders and pumped that program up, and then maybe they wouldn't have died. They wouldn't have killed it off, but clearly General Motors would have killed it off anyway, because that's what they're good at, killing off good ideas, or not even bringing in new blood to keep their brands alive. Just murder them and minimize what you got, and then parts being everything else. Not that anybody else ain't done that. That's what Dodge has done, but we'll talk about them in another time. But basically, the car is garbage. It's overpriced. I went and looked at one just on a whim. I just happened to be over there one day, and I said, well, I'll walk over here. And I dropped the car off, and I'll look at one of these Mustangs. It was grabber blue, 6-speed car. Nothing unusual, no leather seats, nothing. It's 52.5. 52.5, huh? 480 horsepower. Oh, yeah, you know what? I don't think so. I don't like it enough for the price. It's not exciting. There's nothing exciting about it. And see, that's the thing about that. See, when the other cars came out, there was excitement around them. They were like, man, this one's coming out and that one's coming out. And when the GT500, they were working on it, and then it came out, and everybody was like, man, that GT500 is badass. And then the red line, you had cars that had a whole lot of hype behind them. This one, and then the dark horse, I mean, for the money, you know, me personally, I'd go back and get a 19 Shelby GT350. Yeah. For the money and the handling, they're like, well, and you got to wonder, because when somebody says, okay, this is the replacement for this car. Okay, the Mach 1 is good or better. The Bullet car, the 19 Bullet car, nice car. Howling green, you can get it black. Nice wheels on it. It runs. It's nice car. I'd rather have that car as opposed to this new flop they got going. The car is awful looking, and no amount of aero. Now, granted, the dark horse, it grows on you because it's got a certain look to it. It's got bigger wheels. You know, it just the entry level GT, it looks cheap. It doesn't. You know what? You're gonna cheap out on the wheels, and I get it. And that's 52.5. Cheap out on the wheels and no spoiler. You know, come on, man. If at least you gonna doctor it up or something, and you could just imagine what you're gonna get if you get the Saline or the Roush. You know, you're paying for 810 horsepower, supercharged. You know, and if you're one of those people, you just want to buy something and just get in it and not touch it. That's the car for you. Me, I can't do that, because I don't think there's any manufacturer that I've seen yet that has made a car that I wouldn't do something to, that I wouldn't touch it, that I would just be completely satisfied with it, other than the red line. The red line's got badass wheels on it. That's a car I wouldn't need to do nothing but get in it. But those are few and far between. Even the I'm not into Dodge products, but the Challengers. Okay, you got the wide bodies. Okay, they're decent looking cars. I can't take nothing away from them. The wide body kit looks cool. They got cool looking wheels on them. I don't know about that exhaust, and they're heavy, but aesthetically, they're decent looking cars. I mean, they look wide, they look fat, they look mean, they growl. I mean, they got the perfect thing. Of course, they ruined that by killing that all off and going to an electric car. That's another thing. That's another day. But we're talking about the new car, and it ain't blowing anybody's skirt up. You know, if there was a muscle Mustangs or a Super Ford around, they would, you know, when you pick a car, and that's the car that you choose to lift up, that's your car, and then that's what they give you. Yeah, how am I supposed to work with this? What am I supposed to do with this? Look at it. And they're like, well, we think, and here it is. There it is. You got a whole bunch of people on a board that say, well, we think that this is going to sell. It didn't. It didn't. You sold 400,000 units when the last car sold over 1 million units or more. 1.9, 1 point whatever. An astronomical amount compared to what you're selling now. And this car is supposed to be more powerful. Okay, this one makes 485. Okay, you get the dark horse, it makes 500. If we're only talking about power, but you're not just buying the engine, you're not just riding around driving an engine. It's what the car looks like on the outside. Don't nobody care what's under the hood. If it's ugly, I mean, look at those 60s model Dodge products. They were awful looking, but they had max wedges under the hood, and they would literally peel the asphalt up. They were ugly, but they didn't sell a whole lot of them either. The people who were all about what was under the hood and just embarrassing you with this big, awful, ugly car, yeah, they bought them. But this ain't the same situation. This is a plastic car, plastic bumpers. It's got a motor you can't touch. You can't tune it. The computer's locked. They haven't opened it up. They probably ain't going to for a while because they know that's money. So they're not allowing anybody to do anything to it other than put a supercharger on it, and they're sparingly with Roush or Saline or Ford Performance or whomever they're letting tune the stuff or touch it. They're sparing with it. And they're not letting everybody get their hands on it. And you ain't gonna find no Bama tuner to plug into that. You just not. So the car don't look that great. One. It makes $485. Yay. Okay. I don't really like the way it sounds. That's just me. Everybody's like, well, it revs to, you know what? Back in 1966, 289 revved to 9,000 RPMs. You're yelling about this thing revving to 7,000, 8,000? Okay, the GT350 rated 85. 8,500 RPMs. Okay. Flat plane crank. You think these old guys, and a lot of the ones that I talk to, they're like, you know what? I know a guy had one that revved to 8,000 RPMs. It didn't matter, but the fact is that it would do it. So, what's the difference? Then you got push rod. I personally, I like a push rod motor. We'll get into that another time. That's another video, or we're going to discuss Coyote versus push rod. I mean, you want to make power. You want that sound. I mean, high winding. You can build a high winding motor. You can. That's another discussion though. But me personally, when it comes to the new car, I don't care for it. I don't. If somebody's going to give me one, that'd be different. But I'm not going out and paying for that. And you know, the thing about that is that when you're producing a product, see, we look at cars. I was always taught to look at cars that the older ones had souls. New cars don't have souls because they make so many of them, and they don't inject any soul into them. You know, people work on them on the line, and they just put them together, and they look like robots when they put them together. They just put the dash. You know, nobody's excited about building a car anymore because they're not making anything exciting about it. You know, if I worked for a car company, we ain't gonna say no names, and I was really excited about the products they had put out over the years. And if they had come out with something that I was just wanted to get behind it, and it was something I was really passionate about seeing go down the road, yeah, that'd be exciting. Do you feel that when you see one of them cars? No. And I go to the dealership and ain't nobody over there walking around them looking at them. Ain't nobody. And the few people that have bought them, you know, it's not the same. So that's my take on it. You can leave in the comments what you think, and this is just about what you think. This everybody's got an opinion. I mean, my opinion, I don't care for them. I'm not saying that the car ain't fast. I'm sure it is. And the Dark Horse has put up good numbers on the track, but it's a Dark Horse. It's not a regular GT. Let's not get them twisted. The Dark Horse is a specialty car, just like the new Boss is supposed to be. They got a new Boss coming out. I'm like, okay, well, hopefully they, make do better. But once again, the outside of the car and then the inside, the interior, not winning any awards, man. It's just not. But that's my opinion. I'm one person, but clearly, the 400,000 and then the negative amount of people who didn't buy any of the new cars, they're telling Ford Motor Company, hey, this ain't cutting the mustard, bruh. It's not. The next iteration of this, why don't you go retro? Put some of the stuff back in the car. Get that touchscreen crap out of there and all of that. You know what? It seemed to me it was better when you could change the color of the dash. And you know, you actually had gauges. Not on the screen, but actually gauges in the dash. The waterfall. Yeah. The whole thing that made it look like a Mustang. Why don't you go back to that? Why don't you go back to 1965 and 66 and 67 and look at some of them, those cues, and go back to the drawing board. Because this new age stuff, it's garbage. It's just garbage. And it ain't working. Can you not tell? You're going to lose money. You've lost money. You lost money on the Lightning? That was dumb. You took a badass truck nameplate and put it on an electric truck, and it flopped. Don't do that again. If anybody at Ford is watching this, don't do it. Don't do it. Do not take iconic nameplates and put them on trash. You're going to lose every time. With that being said, I think I'm done ranting about this. It is what it is. I'm going to keep doing what I do, whatever I do out here. And as always, my garage against the world. I'll check y'all next time.